Oh, shit, what's that? Come on. Bloody hell. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. You think you're going to be ready, but what happens? The bloody honey flow starts before the splits get done, and here we all are again in chaos. Oh, God. So I bought this new toy from the Spitwater boys. It's supposed to be basically a hot water service. Rather than having, I've got a bloody old boiler thing around here somewhere that you used to have to stick some gas things in and boil the shit out of water and try and get the steam to flow. And that all seemed way too complicated. So I thought I'd get a system where I could wash my plant out with hot water instead of that little camping oven, which was kind of effective for a bit. Of course, in typical bush bee man style, I've run out of time to do everything correctly. So I'm just going to have to do a bit of bodgy fitting from this to my new uncapper to see if I can get it to work, and then go to the secretary in the committee and all of those things you have to go through and fill out the paperwork. I think there's a pink form, a green form and a white form, and then you can requisition some new hoses and some new stuff so you can actually plumb your network up properly. Sometimes when I go and talk to the committee, they tell me to get stuffed, and I don't know how come that is, but you know, I guess I'm just constrained by my own insanity, but here we go. So we're going to try and hook this thing up, just Rhapsody's rules, so nobody get excited. This is just a prototype testing out. No, I don't know. You know how it goes. You've been here long enough. Here we go. She's not the most mobile. Oh, don't lose that bit. That's supposed to be hooked to the wall. One thing at a time. That's supposed to be on the wall, that bit. But anyway, it's not got a wall to put it on yet. Oh my God, we're bogged. What are you doing? Come on, you can do it. Hang on, I just have a review with the hoses. The lad was just giving me shit that I've left my hose out here to perish, but it's not been out here all that time. It was out here because I had to get the right fittings, because these fittings aren't the right fittings. Isn't that always the way? Nothing ever just goes easy. Well, I suppose it does, but it depends on your resources, I guess. When you have no resources, nothing goes easy. Right. Get out the way. I'm figuring it can just sit here for a minute. This might not be ideal, but we're going to try it out before we get too excited. Hopefully. Oh! If Mr. Spitwater's watching, hope this doesn't void me warranty. Hot water return, that's that bit. Any idea what we're actually doing? How are we going to put this together? I think we've got to get that bit over there. I got the... It's like its own little jigsaw puzzle. Maybe I should employ my mum, because she's good at jigsaw puzzles. She sits in the house making jigsaws up. Perhaps I don't need any more brain teasers than just trying to get this to figure itself out. How much hose did you buy? Ah, did you buy? Not enough, I'll bet you. God. I think we'll be going for a drive somehow. What have we done there? Come on, door. You can do it. No, maybe not. What have we done? Why doesn't that one open, John? Doesn't like me. I thought in my original plan I was going to be able to use that big hose to run to the back to there. But I don't think that's going to happen, because it's got to have this little bit. Oh, John! I think I'm going to need a bit longer bit than that, because it's got to get in and out. How good is your measuring? It's not going to happen. If we're going to use this little hose, ultimately, of course, you'll run a pipe along the side of the bloody wall here, and then this would have been plenty. But some bloke didn't get around to getting the pipe running along the wall, so he's got to just do a bit of a dodgy. What are we going to do? Anyway, no good just standing here thinking about it, because something's got to happen. The shop's got plenty more hose, so we'll go down there and get some more in a minute. Oh dear. I would take them back because they're wrong anyway. I bought inch bloody nipples instead of friggin'... Oh, you rabbit. Oh, I think... Oh, that goes on to there. Obviously there will be a pipe running along the wall here, ultimately, but, you know, I need some thread tape now. I'll be back. Right, a little bit of thread tape. Now this is a bit awkward because it's bloody stuck in here. If you've ever done thread taping, you've got to remember you've got to put the thread tape with the thread, so as when you do it up, it actually cuts into the thread and doesn't unravel. So, yeah, there's a little footnote for you. And if you happen to be doing hydraulics, Don't bloody do this at all, because it'll get in your hydraulic pump and then you'll shit itself and then you'll be really unhappy. Oh, come on, Mr. Thread Tape. Get around there with my big fumbly fingers. Oh, now I've got to go and find a spanner after all that excitement. I've only got a couple of fittings that actually work. Have I got a spanner in here? I think the spanner's out there. This is a slightly bigger spanner than we need, but it'll do the job for this project that we're on. Oh, ridiculous sifters. Or you could go and get the right size bloody spanner if you weren't such a slack pillock. You can't do everything all at once, because otherwise you'll all think I'm professional. And where would be the fun in that? Right, stop procrastinating. Come on, get a screwdriver. Because I was going to use the big hose and then just adapt it at this end, but that's not ideal. So anyway, we've got nothing else to do but go driving around the countryside and getting pieces that a bloke forgets to buy in the first place, have we? No, guys, pop that on this fitting. I gotta go and find a knife. My plan is that we'll be able to have an in and out hose, which is what's meant to happen here. This is all a bit temporary, but sometimes my temporaries run on for a little while, so it's very possible that this sort of setup might be hanging around for a bit. So I might as well make it reasonable, convenient for myself. Hopefully I'll get organised and fix it up. I'll run some tube along there. I wonder what the legal ramifications are if you've got power and water on the same wall. I mean, it's only a bloody extension cord. I would suggest that we don't put the actual outlet under the power point, because that could be a bit dodgy arse. Yeah, my next thought pattern is, we've got a, where's the end of this thing? So if we unscrew, that can't be bloody right, that must be the return hose. Okay, no, that'll work. Right, so this is the original bit that could go out of the, I wonder if we could get away with that. Nah, it's still not going to reach anyway, is it? My original thought was I was going to stick that hose on the end of a nut and tail that would be hooked to this hose, but that's not going to happen, so I think what we're going to do is see if we can unscrew this. Don't be a freaking joking, you silly man. Another shifter needed. Where would I find another bloody spanner that might fit something? Oh, Jiminy. The things we go through just to get some honey for you folks. It's incredible. Of course, once you get all this shit sorted out, it's all good. Although I was looking at another commercial beekeeping dude, and he's got trailers and bloody plants at home, and so I'm tipping this never really ends somehow. This is just like agriculture in general. It just goes on, because you get one thing worked out and you think, oh, that was pretty cool, I'll change that up. Then you got to get it past your wife. Oh dear. Now I wonder whether that's going to fit anything. Oh, it'll fit that. Of course it'll fit the wrong thing. Why doesn't anything ever fit what you're hoping it's going to fit? No, okay, that spanner's going to have to go in there, but that's not going to fit in there. Oh, come on, please, just for once in your rotten life. Damn it! Right, now we're cooking. A bit sad, didn't I have to take the hose to the toolbox. So I know what size it is. Rightio, Mr. deCaux, you can do it. Oh. Now the scary thought pops into my head as to where the hell I put the other and outlet nozzles. Oh, fuck. Because those are the original ones that I bought that were wrong. And then I screwed one in there to make sure, I reckon they're still in the truck. Or the ute, as it is here in Oz. There's a truck in America, because I was looking up tyres for my truck, and all these kick-ass bloody 250, what are they, Rams with the big friggin' things are massive. We got a few down here, but they're a bit dear down here in Oz. I'd like one of them, but I don't know how to pay for it. Rightio. Oh, look at that, it's even the right thread. Amazing. What do you think? Amazing. Where around are we going to go, young John? So we'll put a little bit of thread tape on there, screw that together, then we'll have to go for a drive, I think. Screw that in there. Well, I'm just going to tighten this up, because that's the other little bit that had the 3/4 inch hose fitting in there, and so I'm just bodging this for the minute. We need to get the hot water from this hot water producer. Hot water producer. Is that really a terminology? Not really. What would you call it? Anywho, it makes hot water, that's what I know. Oh, come on! Damn it! I think I'm going to have to go and do some stretches or something. You know what, that's still not even going to be quite long enough. I think what we're going to do is go and get a different hose. We're going to stick, this is going to be the return hose instead. Question is is there a right and wrong way for the water to flow through the uncapper? So would it actually matter whether it's coming in and going out, or it should just go through there, shouldn't it? Doesn't even have an arrow, water arrow direction. I'm supposed to just heat those bars up there. That's the plan. Oh, John. I think this is going to suddenly become the outlet, and the side's going to become the inlet. Because I can't see why it would make any difference. And I'm assuming when you actually got that on the wall, though, you want that as the inlet, and this is the outlet, and then it could go back around again. Well, hell, I'm getting dizzy just thinking about it. I think this would be officially a trip hazard somehow if we were doing this with other people, but anyway. Right, that's going to be the return now. So this is the hot water in. Get some tape on that. And then we need a longer hose to come back. I wonder if this is why Queen Mary got the shits up, with all these frustrations. She'd probably turn up and the peasants would be there trying to work this crap out, and she'd go, "You've been there for hours, get my bloody honey organised, you bloomin' underlings. Off to the torture chamber with you. Line you up with some bloomin' silver bells and cockle shells around your nuts. I mean, I tell you." You want to click over to the other show we've got going on here on True Rhymes. I think we're coming up, sort of around this episode somewhere, you'll actually get to see about Queen Mary. She's a bit of a nasty piece of works. And she had Mary, quite contrary. How does your garden grow? And it had nothing to do with gardens. It had all to do with kicking people's asses. So click over to that channel and check it out. La, 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 la. So that was 5 metres, that bit of hose. So I would assume if we got 5 or 6, no, we'd have to get at least 6 metres. This is the moment when you think to yourself, I bloody well should just buy the whole roll. Buy a certain amount of hose by the metre. It costs you more than the roll anyway. I tell you what. Right, so that's got our inlet sorted out. It's got a nice big hose for when you've got proper volume going on, because you want to have something going through your little uncapper and maybe some warmth in your jolly spinner thing. What's that called? An extractor? God, I'm up with the terminology, aren't I? My other thought was I'm going to actually set it up so that I can have underfloor heating with this machine. I'm not really sure whether that's a good idea or not, but I thought it'd be kind of cool. Anyway, I haven't even got the hoses on the wall yet, so I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so I'm just going to cut this little bit of stray grey shit out the way. Then we'll have to go for a drive. We'll go to the shop that sells hoses and pipes and all sorts of weird shit around this here in the Riverland. Locks and irrigation, here we come. I'll just cut this bit off because we don't want that. Wow. This actually looks like an air hose, but I can't. Non-conducting something. Oh, well, maybe we should go to Bradke's and get the other hose. Oh, it don't bloody matter much anyway, does it? Now, if we were in a different time frame, I'd be able to whip you with that when you're being naughty.
How hot of water are you talking about?
About 90 degrees it is roughly, so hot enough. No, go to the other people. Well, there you go, there's some good advice. That must have been the other shop assistant that sold me the other hose that said it was hot water hose. I guess it just depends on how hot the hot water is. But too hot for their hoses apparently. On to the next shop, part 2. Right, let's see if these guys have got some hot water hose. I thought that hose might be a bit dodgy ass. Oh shit, they're closed. Are they closed? You can't be having lunch, you assholes. Assholes, they're having lunch. Only in Loxton would you have lunch. What's the time? It says they're fucking open. It's one of those moments, when your life's unravelled and it's a beautiful sunny day, you just think, friggin' hell, maybe I'll just have a nap. You can have nice naps in your car in the day like this. Just wind your window down a little bit, turn yourself so you got your back window into the sun. Just warms the car just nicely, just a bit of cool breeze coming through the window, and you pass out for an hour and you wake up refreshed, ready to face another bee box. But anyway, I digress. We've got to go in here and get some hot water hose so we can get this project up and running, see if we can actually make our machinery work. Come with me. Yep, looking like the part's going now. Righty-o. Help, here's a hose selection for you. Translucent multi-purpose food contact pressure hose. We might as well just go and ask, mightn't we? Just basically like garden hose size. This needs to be hot water hose. That's the only trouble we've got. I don't know, it's like a roll, I suppose, but I only need about 12 metres really. That's my bare minimum at the minute. It's about 90-ish.
90-ish?
Yeah, so fairly hot.
There's a wash down at 95.
Well, that'll work. That'll be perfect.
Thick of water stuff.
Nah, perfect.
What are you putting through, honey?
Well, no, actually, just there's water to go through the knives to actually get the knives hot.
What do you want, 12?
I reckon about 12 metres or so, because we got 5 in and 6 out. So if we make it 12, we'll be good. That'll give me a whole one to spare. Right to go, on to the next bit. Just as well we did that, because otherwise we would have melted ourselves with that other hose. See, now if you're actually a believer in the world looking after you, you could actually go down the road and say, the reason why I didn't have enough hose to actually get it fixed in the first place was I needed to actually find out that it was the wrong hose, so I could come to this shop and buy the high pressure hose, hot water pressure hose that we could use, so we didn't get burnt. So you see, don't get upset when sometimes your plans don't go exactly to plan straight up. It might be the universe trying to save your ass. That's one thing I've learned along this journey. Guess we should remove our hose that was unacceptable. What are we going to do with 5 metres of funny little unacceptable hose? Let's not do anything dumb. We'll take that off of there. Well, the last time I was there, they said it was going to be all right, but there you go. So it just pays to go up the food chain a little bit, doesn't it? That would have not been a good conversation to have with your wife, would it? Sorry, darling. No, he's not able to do too much for a little while. He's got no bits left to burn them off. Well, you'd think that would be all right. Hang on, we should have a look at this hose and see what it says about temperature. That would have been a good idea, wouldn't it? It's thicker than the normal hose, but it's not as thick as that hose we just brought. Where's the bloody writing? It says, no, it's friggin' air hose, you tossers. It says here it's 300 psi, so I think it'll take a lot of pressure, but not if it's hot. Now I've got, what am I going to do with that? You can't really take it back to them and say, I've got this little bit of hose I didn't want, although I have seen little bits of hose hanging up when people go in there and say this is the wrong thing. I'm sure I'll find some use for it. Golly gosh. Now we'll get our actual heat pipe and stick back together. That's a bit of a serious knife I'm carrying in my back pocket. That's nearly sharper than my good knives in the house, which is a worry. Although I have sharpened them up a little lately. Now, let's put that on here. So that's to get the water in. This is supposed to be mounted on a wall, I would think. That's right, isn't it? Typical. That's only just got to be a big enough clamp. Oh, come on. Now I can't get it off. This has all ended up very involved. Goodness me. Don't try this in your dad's backyard, honestly. Goodness me. Right, we'll run our little hose in here. All this just so we can try it out. Tell you what. 150 psi. We didn't ask that bit, did we? I don't think there's going to be very much pressure in it. It really suck if I cut it and it's too short, won't it?
The storage of that knife is really dangerous.
It's not ideal. You reckon I should put it in a pouch? It'd be worth if I held it in my teeth though, wouldn't it? That'd be more dangerous. Right. Ooh, oh, pop. Do you reckon we'll ever actually get started? Goodness me. These bloody hose clamps these days are getting crappier and crappier. Crazy. Or maybe I'm just getting rougher and rougher. Right, hopefully with that bit dippy, crazy clamp it'll go on there. Nope, it doesn't want to be in it. Go on, just fall on the ground and see if I care. Oh, come on, you can go on there, you piece of rubbish. I don't want to have to go back to town again. There, see, just some gentle persuasion. Okie doke. So hopefully we've got one clamp left in this bag over here. Otherwise, the mission will be bust. And there isn't another clamp in there, is there? Of course there's not. You pisser. Come on! My goodness. You can tell we don't actually plan this shit before you guys turn up to film us, can you? You know, we're not really streamlined, I wouldn't have thought. Should be a streamlined operation so we look professional. John. I feel diseased. Right, old school farmer's clamp coming up. Now when you come back and see me in a year's time and the old clamp's wired on there and the bloody hose is still wired on there, and a friggin' year later you'll know every time I went to town, I just sort of forgot to buy that clamp. If you find yourself without a hose clamp, you could always use a piece of wire. Of course, I've used pieces of wire off of a fence. That's not ideal, so I happen to have a piece of wire in the shed. You can do a lot of good jobs with a piece of wire and a pair of pliers and a hammer. You just want to bend your wire around a little bit nicely, so you've got a bit of a round curve before you start. The major trouble with homemade wire clamps is it leaks through here a bit if your hose isn't the right size. But if it's not the right size, you can put 2 clamps and go the opposite way around. So, as you can tell, I've done this before. But when you're 10 hours from the shop, you just do whatever you need to do. Not that we're 10 hours from the shop. But right, we'll see if we can't clamp this up. I'll put John in charge of standing next to it in case it blows off. The trick is with wire clamps like this, you want to have them tight, but if you don't want to have them too tight, otherwise your wire breaks. The wire will start to cut into your hose, and that's about tight as you want it. Now, the dangerous part about that is, of course, you've got this bit of bloody sharp wire sticking here that you stick your thumb into. And next thing you know, you've got the wire underneath your fingernail, and then it hurts like crazy. So that should just go in there. Okay. Stop it. Right. Let's get this crap off the top here. Oh, I wonder if I've got any fuel in this thing. That'll be the next thing, won't it? The way my day's going. Hello! Just wondering what I'm going to use for a fuel gauge. That looks like a fuel gauge. Perhaps just enough to try it out. I do have some fuel in the shed, but we'll worry about that when we get serious. So we need some power. Wonder what we would do without electricity. We'd have to get 2 sticks, wouldn't we, and make some hot water. But then, well, we wouldn't have to worry because we wouldn't have a bloody automatic uncapper, would we? Because, I mean, that wouldn't work without electricity either. Oh, did you tread on that? Someone did. And we just need some nice clean water to go into the machinery. It says on there CW inlet, so I'm imagining CW stands for cold water. So now we've got the water recycling, or cycling around there. We've just got to wait for it to warm up. This is not ideal, of course, having the hoses in and out where we're going to be walking. Well, I reckon we're nearly at the point where we can give it a go. I bought these blooming bee curtains to hang on me, keep the bees out of this fancy extraction room. We'll hang them up in the morning. We'll come back and we'll have a bit of a crack at getting some of this blooming Mother's Garden honey extracted. So come back next week if you want to see if this actually works. If you come back in episode 254 and the bloody spit water machine's still sitting out there on the pallets and the hoses are still here in the way, feel free to send me an email and say, slacker, do that properly. But it's definitely making it hot. It's fucking hot. So if you're enjoying my journey into beekeeping, or you've ever actually wanted to be a beekeeper and learn something about beekeeping, or hell, if you're just enjoying living beekeeping osmosisly through me, don't forget to click like, subscribe, share. Hell, even down there somewhere there's a click on Patreon support us page that will keep the show rolling.